Today I'm going to show you my 3-step process on how to resolve pretty much most forms of self-sabotage. I came to this process just due to the fact that I've tried all sorts of different ways and I just never really found something that worked for me. I had to chart my own course, find my own strategies and approaches and concepts and philosophies to eventually handle it, because self-sabotage is one of the most corrosive things you can experience. You know, I have clients that I do guidance session calls, mentorship programs. The most common thing I hear across the board is self-sabotage feels almost like your fullest potential, who you know you can be, is just so close you can almost touch, but just far enough away that you cannot reach. And you can feel it, you can experience it, but it's just not strong enough. You can't grab it, and you're essentially stuck there. So let's begin with step number 1. Realize the truth. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not defective. You are simply stuck in a prophetic story. I'm going to use a client example to illustrate. So there was an individual I mentored quite a while back, and he had a particular self-sabotaging pattern. Any single time he would be given a task, an assignment, a project with a deadline, he would almost without fail 80 to 90% of the time miss when he was supposed to finish. And his reason was, well, I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to make sure everything was solid, reviewed, and I didn't miss a single step. Now, obviously, what ended up happening was he missed the deadline. He would lose jobs because of it, or he was a good enough employee that he would remain there, but he would never be able to actually move up the ladder. But as we dug down, we eventually got to an actual deeper narrative that if he reveals himself, if he actually does a fantastic job and he puts himself out there, he's going to be judged and criticized. Now, at first, that sounds okay, that makes sense, but there's actually even a deeper story to that as well. And the deeper story is, if he gets revealed, people will see him for what he truly is: a fraud, a fake, someone who's actually not worthy of being in that position. Now, that was his prophecy that he would fulfill, unconsciously, of course. And no matter what he did, he would always find himself repeating the same thing over and over and over. But as our sessions continued, he began to see himself not just as the actor, but you are also the director. And to be the director, you have to actually do the difficult thing, which is figure out what is it exactly that's causing this cycle of sabotage. Number 2, dissolve the old to rebuild the new. In order for this cycle, this pattern to stop, you need to interpret it more as a dissolving experience, chipping away at it little by little, because there's just no way it's going to go and vanish in 2 seconds or overnight. It's just not possible. As much as I wish I had the power to actually do it, we can't. And so we have to first approach it with, what is it that is actually happening when we enter this cycle? You want to pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to the emotions you feel, and pay attention to the language you say. Because it's always in hindsight that we actually see what happened. It's in hindsight that we say, oh man, I did it again. I pushed the people that were closest to me away in fear that they were going to reject me first, or whatever your form of sabotage is. Eventually, what you want to do is catch it in its early onset. See how it first begins. And you want to be in a state of curiosity. You want to be in a state of wonder, like a scientist. Because the minute you begin to get too critical and too judgmental, you will essentially zap yourself out of it and remain in that actor state. So to be the director, you have to see how the whole play is operating. As you begin to witness the cycle of your sabotage, a few things are going to happen. On one side, that muscle of sabotage has gone very strong. You can recognize once you're deeply in it and you cannot get yourself out of it. The ability to interrupt is atrophied, but the ability to activate it is very, very strong. And so the idea is, as you begin to gain awareness, a stronger awareness, wider context of how your sabotage begins and continues, you can then initiate an interruption before it starts to snowball. Because once it snowballs, for the most part, your day is done. I even had a call with an individual last week who that was one of his challenges. He would feel it, and then once it would begin, and there you go, the days are right off until the next morning where he can reset. So to avoid all that, you have to build the muscle of interruption. There's so many ways you can do this, and I can't give you a definitive one way. That's just not possible. So find a way to interrupt. You can do vocal commands. You can do, getting up and going for a walk. You can do breath work. Regardless of what choice you make, what's really fundamental and important, you do not try to skirt around it and avoid it. You have to sit there with the cycle of sabotage and learn to manage it and to reduce its power without distraction. Because distraction just launches it into the shadow. And once it's in the shadow, it's not gone. It's just autonomous and it's working behind the scenes where you can't see. Focus on the small wins. As the days go on, if you're able to catch it, if you're able to see it, interrupt it, even a little bit, as trivial as it will feel, over time, it will compound. It's just like going to the gym, but think of it like a spiritual gym. So if you go to an actual gym and you're lifting weights, you can't go from nothing, never lifting, to lifting the 100-pound dumbbell. It's just not going to happen. There's just no way. So what do? You start at the lowest, maybe at the 10, maybe at the 20, and then slowly work your way up over time, especially when you make it a lifestyle. So think of it like you're going to the spiritual gym. When you go there, you don't go straight to the 100-pound dumbbell. You want to start at the very beginning. You're going to feel silly because you're going to see other people who are lifting more than you, but it doesn't matter. You are on your own path here. And as you chip away little by little, the muscle that interrupts will become stronger. And the muscle of sabotage and the cycles and the patterns will start to slowly atrophy. They will always be there, but you on this side will become bigger. You will become stronger, and this is something that I have seen time and time again with the people that I work with. It's just a matter of consistency and guidance, of course. As you continue on that path, as you begin to get stronger, you will start to notice something really important. Who is sitting at the center of all that noise, all your thoughts, all these imaginations, all the doom and gloom? Who is sitting at the center? And that is where your consciousness, your focus should go. Because who is in the center is the most powerful, abundant, gracious, loving energy you will ever feel in your life. And it's a whole other video for me to get into, so I can't get into it today. But if you want to get some ideas on it, you can go ahead and download my free guide down below, Self-Sabotage Deconstruction. And I talk a little bit about it in there, and it's actually a portion of my entire Rule of 3 method. And before we get on to step number 3, this is probably the most important advice I can give. Do not swing to the opposite direction in terms of mantras. So what do I mean by that? So if, let's say, you have an issue with courage, you are afraid of standing up for yourself, and anytime you're in an environment of conflict, you always shy away from it consistently. If you use a mantra like, I am the bravest person in the world, and I will challenge anything that comes my way, and I will fight anything that comes my way. If you use language like that, there's a time and a place. I'm not saying you can't do it, but if you recklessly throw that around, what really is going to happen is when you approach a moment that you need to actually face, and you're not ready for it, guess what's going to happen? Your self-sabotaging loop will absolutely come with a vengeance. And you are going to be feeling shameful. You're going to feel angry, bitter, embarrassed at yourself. It's not going to put you in a good place, but it's something that I've seen backfire so consistently, and I've seen it's backfired for me as well. The way to actually approach it is, where are you currently, and have a mantra appropriate for that time. So if you are just beginning the process of exercising courage, have a mantra that reflects that. Because as we, like I said earlier, stack the wins, then your mantra can start to change because it will feel real, because it is real. When you do a hyper extreme with no evidence in between, you're not going to believe it. You're just gonna know you're bluffing. Part of you will want to call out your bluff in a way. Stick to saying mantras that are appropriate at the time and build them up as you become denser. Now, to move on to step number 3, make this routine. You have to tackle this every single day consistently. It's not about intensity here. Intensity can come and go, but it's the consistency over time. Make it a part of your life. There is no amount that anyone can do that can change you in one day. It's just not really possible. Of course, exceptions can happen, but even me, where I can get on a call with somebody and I can crack and almost dissolve their self-sabotaging loop that they've had for the past, let's say decades. I can do it in one call, but the maintenance of it is something that has to be kept because it'll be all for nothing. Because if you don't maintain it, then 2-3 weeks down the line, more than likely you'll slowly start to revert back. You just get a little bit of that excitement, and then if you don't maintain it, remember the sabotage muscle is much stronger right now. It will come back and it will dominate. And if you actually want to watch me do that live, I'll have a video pop up right here where I jumped on a coaching call and I helped an individual who was struggling with shame for his entire life. Now, everything I just discussed today is the basic version of my entire method. And if you want more help, more resources, down below, I have a few things. So the first thing is my PDF that you can download, the Self-Sabotage Deconstruction Guide. Goes a little bit deeper into what we talked about today. The next thing would be my 6-month mentorship program. For those of you out there who are pretty much at your wit's end, sabotaging has been a part of your life for too long and you are just dying to actually finally live. And you want to be the director as well as you want to be the actor in your own life. And then finally, I have a mini series that I'm testing out with only 4 individuals, well now 3, where I will give you a one-on-one guidance session for 60 minutes at no cost to you. Absolutely free. In exchange that we record it and we put it on YouTube for individuals to feel inspired and to connect with you. And then also for all of you out there to see my method and see how it actually works in practice. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.